Welcome to Satsang. So tonight I have the costume of someone who's going out somewhere on. The costume of a tuxedo, formal dress. What uniform are you wearing tonight? And who do you think you are? You see, you're not the body and you're not the mind, so how can you be the outfit that you're portraying, that you're wearing? You're pure beingness, but people identify with the way they look. They identify with how they dress. They identify with their belief systems, and none of it's who you are. My teacher, Osho Rajneesh, suggested that his sannyasins did acting classes so they could see clearly that everything they do is an act. But people start believing their own act, and they get lost in an identity of thinking there is somebody when there's actually nobody here. You take away your imagination and the I doesn't exist. It only exists in imagination, made up of reference points from the past, projected to the future, and some belief systems. The question is, who are you really? I discovered this back in the early 80s as a meditator, finding no mind, then coming out of that space of no mind and looking at it and going, well, I was there, but there was nothing happening in my head. It was absolutely empty. I was just witnessing. And so if the mind wasn't there, if the I wasn't there, who am I really? What am I really? And from that moment on, I had a suspicion that I wasn't who I thought I was. This person who thought they had a past, thought they had a future, had a whole pile of understandings and belief systems that made up this fictional character called me. And in a lot of ways, that began my quest in earnest to find out who I really was. Tonight, there's an act. I'm pretending to be a guru in a suit. But it's not who I am. It's not what I am. I don't experience myself as separate from you. All of that dropped 22 years ago. So who are you? What are you, really? The doubt in my identity really set me to task to find out who I really was. You see, if you don't have an interest in who you really are, you're not going to do whatever it takes to find out. And if you still believe that you're this body, this mind, this person, have a look at the belief, examine it, see if it's true. The body and the mind appear in beingness, but they're not who you are. There is something that is aware of the mind. What is that? What is this that's aware? This is of interest to the seeker. So I talk to you, and you might think there's someone here. But if you tune in, you're not going to find anything here, because my mind doesn't talk to itself. It stopped 20 odd years ago. People think the one that talks in the head is them. No, not true. What's aware of that? That's what you are. The pure awareness, the pure consciousness that is before the mind. And enlightenment is knowing self as that continuously. When awareness is aware of itself, when consciousness is conscious of itself, there is a field of energy that is produced. It is called a Buddha field. And the mind rests in that, in profound contentment for no reason. So welcome to the fancy dress party, where everyone turns up thinking they're a somebody, but they're not. Tosh, you had some questions of me.
Yeah. I've prepared some questions about peace. How do I find true peace?
The only way you can find true peace is to know yourself as truth. The mind can never really be that peaceful while it's ego-based, because it desires things and it gets attached to things. And when those desires are addictive, it's out of peace. When there's attachment to anything and the attachment gets threatened, it's out of peace. You could say that our true nature is peace, but even that's too much to say. The idea of peace would indicate duality, and that's also not real. Find yourself as truth and you'll find that you are everything and nothing, but duality is not real any longer because you experience yourself as the universe. Awareness, aware of itself. Peace is a concept of the mind because the mind wants something different than what it has. If you find beingness as self, you could say the mind becomes peaceful because it goes quiet. There's silence and there's stillness. But it's irrelevant. The mind is irrelevant. What's relevant is awareness aware of itself.
How do I discover for myself that the mind is irrelevant rather than just having it as an understanding?
Satori works pretty well. Asking the question, who's aware, continuously until awareness turns back to itself. When I was seeking, I used to self-inquire all day long. How much do you want it? The thirst for freedom, the thirst for truth, the thirst for enlightenment needs to be very strong for a person to do what it takes to find it and stay as it. How strong is your thirst? How interested are you? Because the deal is unconditional surrender of the mind to truth. That is a totality. That is a full stop. You don't wake up and then have a later. You wake up and you have a now, because only now is real. Later is just a dream, as before is just a dream.
I was listening to one of your earlier satsangs today, and you spoke about, you said something like, where do you put your money? Do you put your money on who you truly are, or on this thing that talks to itself? How do you get to the point where you put all of your money on just truth?
You can't give yourself a choice. The only deal I know that works is everything for truth and nothing for you. There is no other deal. Whatever you put before truth, you'll live as. Someone who's awake has put truth first. And the mind serves truth. It doesn't serve itself. If it's still serving itself, there is no awakening. Not really. There's something wrong. The surrender hasn't been total. You've got to look at what do you serve. And you have to be very honest with yourself. There comes a point where you realize that the mundane world that we live in is temporary, and that we're going to die, and that we're going to lose everything, and that the only freedom there is enlightenment. Otherwise we do it all again. Then you put your totality into waking up. You put your totality into higher consciousness. It's the same recipe for success in anything, really, whether it's sport or business, music, art, higher consciousness. Totality rules. It's a part of the recipe. It's a must. Partiality creates failure. And so you could say that people who have woken up are fanatics, because they are. They're fanatical about truth. They're fanatical about getting free. And they've given it their total effort, which is unconditional surrender to truth.
What does unconditional surrender to truth look like?
It looks like the mind doing nothing, not reacting. It can still respond to the world, but the reaction is over because it's like it's dead. People think of that as being negative, but it's not negative. The thing that is dead is not who you are. You are pure awareness, and you are here now. You were never born, and you cannot die.
One more question. I found that I can I can and do always find something to do. Like I can always do more work around the house, wash my car, clean my motorbike. There's always something, and there's a certain satisfaction to doing these things, but it's definitely not peaceful. How do I remove the need to do things all the time?
You accept them and have spiritual practices. You practice openness. You practice being present to what is real. You practice self-inquiry. And you practice the way of the heart. And you practice these things until you find the truth. It's simple. What do you practice? Thinking about it doesn't work. Collecting knowledge about higher consciousness doesn't work. Listening to teachers talk about it and using their knowledge doesn't work. The only thing that works is your practice. What do you practice? If all you do is practice collecting knowledge, you'll become very knowledgeable, but you won't wake up. No amount of knowledge woke a person up, raised their consciousness levels, healed a wound of the heart. It's the booby prize. What do you practice?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any statements, or any challenges to anything that's been said here this evening?
Hi, Vish.
Hello.
Uh, I have a question. When you say that this is a costume and you see yourself as nobody, or you can say everyone, how
Hang on a
can
second. I
you?
see myself as nobody. That's also an identity. It's
Oh,
hard to understand, but the ego drops, the identity drops. Seeing yourself as nothing is still an identity. There's just nothing here. That's a better way and a clearer way of putting it.
yeah, maybe yeah, emptiness. There is nothing. Um, I mean, no Vishrant, no one there. No Vinita. You see yourself as like everything is one. So how in that situation?
I just want to go back one step further. There is no self. You think there's a self because you're ego-based. When awareness becomes aware of itself, it's obvious there is no self. The whole idea of self is false. It's very hard in English to describe in any way what we truly are, because English is designed completely for the ego, for survival. But imagine being the sky. It's a bit like that, but it is not in any way personal.
So in that situation, how is the like role play possible when you see that other person is misbehaving and you see yours, there is no one there, and you see that consciousness is just pretending to be someone. How is that role play like? You are trying to say something to that person, trying to tell the truth. How is that possible that you might have to sometimes just play the role of angry, but you are not angry inside? How can you do that effectively?
Well, look at it this way. You've got children. Have you got children?
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes a child gets out of hand and it needs to be brought back into line. And so you put on a stern act while loving the child. But there's no contraction in it. It's just a stern act. And that works because the child recognizes that something's wrong and modifies its behavior. If all we do is talk sweetly and nicely the whole time, we can become quite ineffective. Sometimes sternness to let people know that what they're doing is not correct is required. But can we do it from a place of openness rather than a place of contraction? Can we do it from our openness inside? Because if we can, we don't cut ourselves off from our own hearts. The moment we close, the moment we go into resistance, we cut ourselves off from our own hearts.
Yes, I have a question about that. Sometimes I am not feeling anger inside, I am just doing acting. But I have seen some people telling me, oh, you shouldn't be behaving like that. You do meditation. And we don't see any effect of meditation. They just think that person has to be just flat all the time and you have to speak just sweetly. So what what should be, what should I I know this is not my business to convince them. They can think whatever they want to. But if suppose it is my child who is saying that, then
Was there a question, or were you just making a statement?
I am saying, so should I just ignore when they are saying you do lots of meditation and this is like manipulation on their part that I see. So should I just ignore that or should I need to do something about it?
Well, I can only give you my opinion. I don't care what people think. What people think of me is their business. It's none of mine. I have no interest in people's acceptance. They either accept me or they don't. Either way, I'm fine with it. How free do you want to be? If we're interested in the acceptance of others, we're still in prison.
uh, Vish, there is other question. Yesterday you were saying to someone that um, you should have courage to tell other person the truth. In that case, what should you do if other person is not willing to hear the truth? Should you still continue? If they are being rude to you,
If someone's rude, I can't be bothered with them. But here's the thing, I just deliver a message. I don't have an interest in the outcome, really. I'm not goal orientated. I just deliver the message, like the postman delivers the message. Either people get the message, they don't get the message, that's their business. I just deliver the message. They want to get upset, that's their problem, not my problem. They want to love me, that's their problem, not my problem. I'm just delivering the message.
can I ask one last question?
Sure.
Oh, this is about Osho says that the people who believe in fate, they are slave and they don't have any freedom. So I was a little bit confused because I thought that, as Robert Adams says, Maharshi Ramana says, everything is predestined. So can you say something about it?
All beliefs are prisons. Beingness has no beliefs. Beliefs belong to the mind. And when we undo all those beliefs in the mind no longer gets caught. All beliefs are prisons. Whether there is fate or there is not fate, it's irrelevant. What's relevant is who you are, what you are, pure beingness. Find that as self. That is the only thing that you need to be concerned with. All these understandings, all these philosophies, all these ideas are just mind rubbish. Who are you really? Who's aware of this stuff? What's aware of this stuff? Pure Ramana Maharshi. Okay.
Thanks, Vish. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I have Angelos. Yes, Angelos.
Hello, Vishrant. Hello.
Hello, Angelos.
Hello, sir. In your opening talk, you spoke about looking and examining the belief that what I am is a body and a mind. And I was wondering if you can speak about specifically how to examine that belief.
It's almost impossible to break that belief that you are the mind and body unless you wake up. Ego, you need to turn your mic off.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Can you talk to me again, Angelos?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. What happens is the I diminishes if we get rid of the story of it. And I discovered this while I was working as a naturopath and psychotherapist. When I put my hand on the handle of the door to my clinic, the story of Vishrant disappeared. I was just there in service to the person on the other side of the door. It was all about them. And I'd do that all day long, 8 hours a day sometimes, and there'd be no story of Vishrant. I was just there in service to whoever was attending. And I started to look at that and I realized, wow, that feels really nice. It feels really nice to not have that story of Vishrant. And so I decided to extend it into my whole day and my night. I started to drop the story of Vishrant. And as I did, life became much more peaceful. My mind became much more quieter. But it didn't get rid of the ego. The ego is there, it's the identified part of the mind. The ego dropped when awareness discovered itself. It was absolutely clear that it was not possible that I was a body or a mind. It was clear that awareness is our true nature and it's here now. And that's the only way, really, that the ego really thoroughly drops. When awareness stays aware of itself, when enlightenment occurs. Thank you, Angelos.
Thank you.
Good to see. Yes, Tosh.
You have Shivika, who'd like to talk to you.
Shivika. Yes, Shivika.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I actually don't really experience change. It's always the same.
That's really nice. I wish I could be like that.
Well, you are like that, you're just not aware of it. Your awareness is on your mind, and because it's on the mind, that's where you live. When awareness is on awareness, you live as awareness. See, wherever awareness is at, that's where we live. And so if you have a noisy mind, you live as a noisy mind. If you have an angry mind, you live as an angry mind. You live as anger. If you have a fearful mind, you live as fear. Wherever awareness is on, whatever it's on, that's what you live as. So someone who's enlightened is living as beingness because awareness is aware of itself. And it doesn't move and it's silent. It's always the same.
Vishrant, I have felt the moments in my life where I feel completely present in the moment, and I feel so liberated at that point. But I know as soon as I come out of it, I don't know how long or how much time it will take for me to get back to that state. And sometimes I feel that there are parts of my life that I can't change because I'm forced to be in that situation. And I feel like maybe it's better for me to fight it and look at that part of my life as a challenge rather than walk away because I want to treasure my happiness. I'm in a bit of a dilemma here, and I really would like to seek your direction.
So it comes down to what do you serve? You see, if you're serving the mind, more than likely awareness will stay on the mind. And in service of the mind, more than likely you're contracting to the world, resisting the world, so awareness stays stuck on the mind. If you start serving truth, something else happens. You start finding yourself as beingness. So what do you serve? People who aren't awake don't serve truth, they serve the ego. Now, before serving truth, you can serve heart. And that's a very beautiful thing to serve, because in service of heart, the I evaporates, because you put yourself aside for the benefit of whatever you're serving, which isn't you. Maybe it's other people, maybe it's animals, maybe it's the planet. But the way of the heart is service to others rather than service to self. It's called the noble path because you get out of the way. And this particular path, the way of the heart, prepares you for enlightenment, prepares you for serving truth.
I know what you mean. I understand. But the problem is that when I give my heart to someone else, they don't reciprocate it. And then I feel hurt. And then sometimes I feel like maybe if I don't let them know, then they'll never find out.
Yeah. There's a misunderstanding about love. See, love is, we think that love is personal, but love is real and the I is not. And so we think we love. Love is there, but it's not personal. And so I love every single person I meet. And I love you. But it's not personal. It's just that love is here. And the I, the thing that claims to love, the I, is actually not real. But love is real. And something that's not real can't really claim love because love is real. You find yourself as truth and then examine love again, and you see that it is always here. It's always available. It's just that people are closed. And every time we close, every time we go into resistance to anything, we cut ourselves off from love. We block it. We filter it. And so if you really want to experience unconditional love, you open up. You practice openness.
When I think the problem of the world in general, I feel, is that when you're around people who are not even aware of being aware of awareness itself, when they're not even aware of anything and you're around them, how do you deal and how do you process everything, and how do you, especially when they're in a superior position of, I'm in a workplace like that, and I feel so confused. I feel like I don't know how to just respond to that in that environment. Should I just go? Should I just walk away? Is there something better for me for my life that I can be happier with, that I can, be honest with myself
You
and
know,
find myself?
there is no freedom in being an ego. because you're tied to desiring things to be different than how they are, which is what you're doing right now. And you get attached to things, and when they're threatened, you feel hurt and you go into contraction. There is only one freedom, and that's to know yourself as truth. And so the advice has to be, go for enlightenment, go for truth. If you really want freedom, if you really want to stop suffering, go for truth.
I think I'm going to make my decision very soon. Vishrant.
There's only now. It's now or never, you see, because now is the only time that is real. And the big problem with the country that is into enlightenment, India, is everyone postpones everything. There is only now.
Vishrant, if I embrace everything in life without any fear at all, without worrying about anything, will I be okay?
You have a condition on it. You want to be okay. No, the deal is you embrace everything with love, and whatever happens is okay. That's surrender. All conditions keep you imprisoned. It has to be unconditional. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
I think Susha wants to talk to you.
Does she? Hi, Susha.
Hi, Vishrant. I think you answered my question.
All questions are the same. Surrender. The answer to every question is the same. Surrender.
Yes.
It's
Just
just
when
if
you,
I keep saying that, people don't like it. They want something that's a little easier.
I found my mind stuck all day, or all my awareness stuck on my mind all day. And I couldn't accept that. And I felt hopeless and sad. But as soon as you said, there's only now, and something just released. But you said, be a fanatic, or be total. And when that kind of a hopelessness comes, that I'm still following my default patterns, can't break them. It's this pain in there.
That was a statement, and that's okay. In 1988, I contracted hepatitis B, and it nearly killed me. I was in bed for nearly 6 months. But during that period, I couldn't do much, but I'd go to the university library and study the old masters. I'd sit and read them for as long as I could every day for about 6 months. And after reading them for 6 months, I came to the conclusion that they all taught exactly the same thing: surrender.
So when I know my awareness is stuck on mind,
Surrender to that. And then the next time something appears as resistance, surrender to that. And then the next time, surrender to that. Keep surrendering until there's nothing left to surrender. Surrender is the doorway to enlightenment. It's the best the mind can do to facilitate it.
Surrender to the resistance. That's mind blowing. Thank you.
Okay. Hello.
Ritaraj wants to talk to you.
Hello, Ritaraj. You're muted, Ritaraj, so I can't.
Yeah,
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Thanks. So I've just my question is, why don't we want to die?
Because you're programmed to survive. You as a mind, you as a body are simply a survival mechanism. Everything in you is programmed to survive. That's why. That's why animals can't wake up, because their survival mechanisms also. It's just that human beings are intelligent enough to defeat the survival mechanism. They're intelligent enough to learn surrender.
So does the intelligence survive the death of the ego? Or
If the mind stays alive, yes, but the mind will eventually die with the body. But what's aware of the mind doesn't die. Or what we truly are doesn't die. But after awakening, the intelligence of the mind will still be there, just the identity of the mind will not. The one who thinks they were somebody drops.
okay, but there is memory of that person still there, but he's just not identified with the being is not identified with that anymore.
The memories are still there, like photo albums. But you look at the photo albums and it's like you're looking at someone else's photo albums because there's no identification with them any longer. It's over. The identity is dropped.
Another question, like at the moment, a lot of the things that I'm doing are just practices. What you're teaching, it's not actually, it doesn't come naturally. So is there, like, should I take breaks as well? Because I do try to do a lot of yoga and practice as much as I can. Then I think I overwhelm myself and I'm not using the middle path, I guess. I'm not too sure. Can you talk about taking breaks or something, or should we take breaks? I don't know.
Well, I practice yoga, qigong, meditation, self-inquiry, the way of the heart. These are the things that I practiced because I love them. What do you practice? What's your love?
I don't know. Actually, I do enjoy all of it, but sometimes I do overwhelm myself with I don't know. I get lost. I don't know. Yeah. I actually want to do too many things. I guess that's the problem, and I'm trying to gear it towards enlightenment, but I don't know.
Where are you living?
In Sydney.
Is there anybody in Sydney who's awake that you can sit with?
Yeah, I've been looking for someone. I think there's a lady, Ira. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find. I'm trying to locate her, and I'm trying to see if I can sit with her.
What is her name?
Izira, I think. Izira.
Okay. I don't know her. But if you're really interested in truth, the best you can do is find someone who's awake and sit with them and get them to take your part.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
There's a question from Bagavi. How to drop ego, the I and me attitude.
It's impossible, really. You can stop entertaining the story of you, which allows it to dissipate to some degree. But as long as you're not enlightened, as long as you're ego-based, you will be identified. The identity only drops after awakening. It doesn't drop before. You can know that you're not a somebody. You can know it as intellectually, but it'll still be there. When it drops, there is a sense of being there's just nobody here. It's gone. After awakening, my wife came to me about a week or two later and said, I've lost my husband. And I said, yes, he's gone, because he had. I still stayed with my wife for another 10 years. Didn't go anywhere, but the man that she had married was no longer there. That's the truth of it. The I drops. The false one drops because the real one is prevalent. The real one is pure beingness, pure awareness. It's what we all are. It's here now. Everybody in this room is already at their final destination. They just don't know it.
Big.
I think, Susha, have you got your hand up? Yes, Alex.
Hi, Vish.
Hello.
The spacesuit is looking very dapper this evening.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going out to a friend's wife's 40th birthday party, and I was told it's formal dress. So this is formal, I believe. This is the act tonight.
Yeah.
What's your act tonight, Alex? Who are you? Who are you pretending to be?
Slightly nervous.
That's not the identity, that's a condition.
The entity of a seeker.
So you have an, yeah, that's probably the dirtiest entity you can get. The spiritual poem. You're somebody who's into something special. That one also has to die.
Yeah. Well, how do I do that?
Wake up.
Yes.
All identities, even the seeker identity, is a false identity. It's not who we are. They're all fraudulent. They're all pretenses.
And
look back, become aware of who you are, see what's there. Ask the question, what's aware? Keep asking it until awareness turns back onto itself, and see what you really are. Let the mind witness what you truly are, and then it can't possibly ever believe it to somebody again.
yes. Thank
Anything
you.
else? Thank you, Alex. Are you feeling a little better? You were a bit sick the other day.
Yeah, I'm feeling clearer in the head and yeah, better in the body.
Okay. That's good.
Thanks.
Yes.
I think Shivika wants to talk to you again.
Hello, Shivika.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
So, I had another question for you. I was wondering, Vishrant, when I have always, I don't know, for at least for a very, very, very long time, I've had this feeling like I'm very different from people, or I'm just, people don't understand me, and it's confusing, it's conflicting, and a lot of times I find myself lost and just confused
So
about
make
things.
it okay to be lost and confused. Make it okay to be different. Make it okay. Make it all okay. Find acceptance for what is.
Is it okay if, I'm trying to frame this right,
Everything's okay. Unless you want to fight with the world, and then it's not okay and you're creating your own suffering. Otherwise, everything's okay. And people think everything okay, you become ineffective, but it's not true. You can move to change from okayness, because okayness is openness in a lot of ways. You can move to change from that. You can see someone being harmed and you can be okay with that and still step in harm's way to protect them from a place of okayness. Try it and see.
I give love to everyone. I always try to, when I feel like positivity is the solution to everything in life. If you look at things with a positive attitude,
But
it can,
you're being negative right now because you're creating duality. You're going against negativity. You're being negative in your conversation. Have a look. What about just accepting life as it is rather than positive, negative, good, bad, right, wrong? What about just accepting life as it is? Because then the mind can be at peace.
all this while I've always thought, Vishrant, that there's always a good and a bad. I've always thought that if there is a good person, then there's a bad person. If there's God, then there's hell. And I feel confused. I feel like, people can just share love and just throw it around, but they don't want to.
What about accepting things as they are? Neither good nor bad, neither right nor wrong. This is simply what is. Then the mind will shut up.
People don't understand me, Vishrant. A lot of people don't understand me. It's difficult being different.
Be okay with being different. Be okay with whatever appears. Be tenderly okay with whatever appears, and it will change your life. It'll open your heart. Or resist, contract, and suffer. That's the choice. We create our own suffering through our resistance to what is, and then unconsciously blame something else for the suffering when we've created it in the first place because we supplied the resistance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deep
Oh, hello. Who's that?
Abhay.
Sorry, say that again.
Abhay.
Oh, hello, Abby.
Hi, Vishrant. I see that most of the things I do, even talking to people, there's always a underlying current of fear. How do I overcome that?
Be okay with it. Make fear okay. If you don't resist fear, it's best. Just make it okay. Make everything okay. Make what you're frightened of okay. Make embarrassment okay. Make rejection okay. Make whatever it is that you're frightened of okay. This defeats fear because you're surrendering. If we want fear to expand, if we want it to be greater, just resist. Just supply resistance inside fear and you feed it. Surrender. Let go. Don't feed it. Make everything okay, including fear. Make it okay. Your teacher was Osho Rajneesh. He taught this. Acceptance of life as it is brings freedom. Resistance to life as it is brings suffering. Have a look and see. Become aware of how you create your own suffering through your own resistance to life as it is. Remember I showed you the song? The song was Yes, Bhagwan, Yes. What do you think he was trying to teach us?
I feel now you're my teacher and you've given me the name Abhay. And I'm totally so opposite to it. What am I doing? What am I doing? It's like I'm not doing anything to really come close to Abhay.
You were given the name because fear is your obstacle. Fear is the thing that's in the way for you. So you were given the name Abhay, which means fearless, because that's the work you have to do. And I learned about fear and how to surrender to fear by being in very dangerous things. I was into extreme sports and they were all very dangerous. And so I surrendered my life. I surrendered to death. I surrendered to being mauled by sharks. I surrendered to being dying on motorbikes. I surrendered in martial arts to being hurt and killed. I surrendered, I surrendered, I surrendered until there was nothing left. Abhay.
Yeah. I will practice that definitely. Thank you so much, Vishra. Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Hello.
There's a question from Manasa. How to undo the mind?
It begins by witnessing it. You develop a silent witness that just watches the mind without judgment. It just watches and watches and watches. And as it watches the mind, it becomes obvious what's in the way and what's working. And so now you've begun the process of undoing the mind, simply by witnessing it. As it comes a point where you see things that are detrimental to you, detrimental to your path, in just seeing them, the chances are that you'll stop supporting them. A bit like you see you banging your head against the wall. and you see it and you stop it because you see it. Same. You see what the mind's doing by witnessing it, and then you see the obstacles that it's creating, the things that are in the way, and just the insight of seeing it over and over again comes the willingness to not entertain it, to not do it, to not be involved in it. Witnessing the mind is a very powerful technique for changing how the mind actually is, simply by witnessing it. But most people get caught in the dream. They get caught in thinking, which is not witnessing. They get caught in analysing, which is not witnessing. Just watch the mind like you'd be watching a wild animal to see how it behaved. Without judgment, just watch. This is the beginning. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here tonight.